Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me this afternoon, guys. Obviously, for those that have kind of seen previous episodes of our Roundtable series, I'm Graeme. I obviously work for Amicus. We recruit all across Germany and all across Europe for a number of software engineering positions. Today, I have the great pleasure of being joined by three wonderful guests, in no particular order, of course, joined by Gavin, Marc, and Daniel. Of course, these guys are the star of the show. You're not really here to kind of see me today, so I'll pass around to each one of them to give a very brief kind of introduction to themselves and their current situation, and then we'll dive into the topic that is kind of relocating for work. So again, in no particular order, Gavin, if you'd like to give a brief intro, kind of start us off.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Gavin. I'm a consultant, mentor, coach. My business and work is about bringing people from underrepresented groups into leadership. But practically what that means is just consulting on people management, process, that sort of thing for startups and scale-ups.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for being so concise. And yeah, Marc, please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Marc, as obvious, and I'm working as an engineer, or worked as an engineer for about 17 years. Started going into leadership roles since like 6 years about, or 5 years, and working now as an engineering manager at Kaufland e-commerce. It's a retail company with about 800 employees.
Fantastic. And last but very not least, Daniel.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be back with you guys. I'm Daniel Santana. I'm from Brazil, CTO at Umatrix, born in startup. I have 20-something years of experience with technology, started from the development, database, and so on. And then a few years ago, I moved here to Germany, and I hope I can brainstorm with you guys the topic of today. Thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, that being said, then the topic for today is indeed relocating for work. I myself have relocated a few times in my life to kind of follow my father for work, but also myself kind of relocating for work opportunities. I know Gavin was saying just before we hit record, yeah, you kind of relocated, etc. So I'd love to hear a bit more on your story, Gavin, just to start us off.
Yeah, sure. So I moved to the UK from South Africa about 8 years ago. Really, my number one driving reason was to just be in a bigger tech market. There is a tech space in South Africa, but I was just kind of excited about it being in Europe, being part of a bigger scene, pursuing management. At the time, I was a software engineer, and I just really wanted access to both more opportunities, but also to experience a different culture, experience a different way of life, experience different weather. Yeah, just something new and different.
Excellent, excellent. And Daniel, you mentioned you've relocated over from Brazil.
Yes, and this was one of the topics, and what I would like to contribute today with you guys is exactly a little bit of my experience on how it happened, and how the challenges I faced, and for people who wants to come. For example, this would be something that I would like to bring values and share values with everyone.
Okay, fantastic. Kind of starting us off then, very, very basic. One of the reasons, one of the questions I face quite often from kind of hiring managers, etc. Why would someone kind of look to relocate? Very, very simply. Marc, if you want to start us off, yeah, happy to kind of go from there. Why would somebody look to kind of relocate, I suppose?
Those are different reasons, and it's a really broad range of them. It's salary, of course, sometimes. Sometimes it's like they want, I can just talk for myself now and for the people that I spoke with. And people heard good things of Germany, like society, insurances, all that stuff. Also lifestyle. I mean, if you can say lifestyle in Germany, it's more serious people here. And yeah, different reasons. Also job opportunities, of course, because especially here in Berlin, we have a big market and a lot of startups, and everyone's looking for engineers, even in these times when there are these layoffs of big companies. nonetheless, there's plenty of open jobs, and yeah, people are looking for them and ending up here. One reason that I found out surprisingly often is that people come here from more southern countries, like from Brazil, from India, is that they told me they come here because it's not so warm. So it's just colder, especially in summer. The problem is more now that due to climate change, we also have in Germany in summer sometimes temperatures up to, don't know, 38, sometimes even 40 degrees, and they are somehow disappointed from time to time now. Yeah, but this, and I heard it multiple times, so it's not just one person that was it. Yeah, those are basically the reasons that I know about.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. I think I can resonate with that. Being based in Manchester, it's like constantly raining almost every single day. I'd love to kind of relocate somewhere where the weather was maybe slightly improved, so to speak. Okay, so one of the kind of main factors then being, of course, kind of lifestyle changes, I suppose, be it kind of maybe salary improvements, etc. One of the kind of key questions I was kind of hoping to ask each of you. Obviously, since kind of COVID pandemic, we've obviously noticed a huge increase in the amount of remote workers, be it from all across Germany, all across Europe. Now, I was just wondering, speaking of kind of why someone may look to kind of relocate, what can companies do specifically, potentially, to kind of introduce people back into the office or make it more likely for somebody to want to kind of relocate to a more on-site situation?
What was the last sentence? Because I think my connection is a little weak.
Apologies. Yeah, I was just saying, so of course at the moment more and more people are kind of working remotely. I was just wondering, from a company's point of view, what do you feel companies can potentially do to make it more likely for somebody to want to come into the office or relocate for that work, when indeed similar opportunities are available to kind of work remotely from the comfort of your home, for example? And this question is open to all, by the way, whoever wants to kind of jump in or has immediate thoughts.
Yeah, maybe I would initiate this or give an initial answer from my side. To be honest, it's quite hard, and I'm also wondering or questioning myself how to do this, because I'm working here in a team. I mean, it's only spread all over Germany, but even this, we are completely at different locations. And yeah, what I'm missing myself, at least, is this team spirit that we had earlier, before or pre-COVID pandemic. That you had this, you sat next to each other and you could just ask over the table question to your colleague. And I hoped that this could be something that how you could motivate people to get back into the office. But it seems like that a lot of people rather prefer to have the freedom to work from wherever they want. And it's totally valid, of course. This is an advantage that they have nowadays. So I didn't see a really good recipe for this by now, to be honest. And I'm curious if you guys have a good idea for this.
Sure, you were nodding your head there, Gavin. Potentially you have something to add?
No, like this move back to the office goes against all my values. Like, I think I've been doing remote working since before the pandemic, and I think there's so much value in remote working. And what the pandemic showed us is that we could kind of change our culture and make it more accessible, more open to people from different economic backgrounds. If we focused on delivering the work, it doesn't matter where you live, it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter how able-bodied you are, you can still do the work. And it saddens me that like companies are pushing so hard to get back to in-office working, to be in commutable distance of a major center. So many jobs at the moment, at least here in the UK, are like London-based, because London is the center of the universe here. And it's really unfortunate that roles that were previously open to people with disabilities, or people that were carers, or just people that didn't live in a major center, they're now cut off from those opportunities. So I don't want to give anyone any ideas about how to get people back in the office, because I think it's tragic that we're doing that when we've shown we can work in a remote and distributed way. It's hard, don't get me wrong. It's not like remote working solves all problems. It comes with so many challenges. It's really hard. Exactly what Marc said about, like, that environment, that office feel, that feeling like you're working with people and you're around people and you can just ask someone something. Whereas with remote working, like if you want to have a conversation with someone, you've got to send them a Slack and go, hey, are you busy? Can I set up a call for 11 o'clock or whatever? It's totally awkward and unnatural. It's so much nicer to go, hey, Bob, like, what do you think about this? And turn your laptop and show them the screen. How do we recreate the environment remotely? That's really hard. But that's not the question you asked. So I'm probably not the best person to answer that question.
Okay, well, yeah, I get you. Okay, thank you. And Daniel, I'm wondering what would your thoughts would be around potentially increasing the likelihood for somebody to relocate?
Muted.
Yeah, I think you're on mute, Daniel.
Oops. Answering your question, and also your point, Marc. One thing that I do I'm working remotely with companies all around the world since 2010, and one thing that I encourage people is to don't miss the value of the water or the coffee machine. There is some increase of engagement when you are like we are kind of like a society animals or human beings. So what I notice during my career is that we have an increase, kind of like a natural increase of engagement when we are working closer. This is my personal feeling regarding the teams. But I agree with Gavin on this one. It depends on the team. It depends on the company. It depends on multiple factors. If the team is going good, and I believe that the question of going remote working or not, or hybrid and so on, should be considering the outcome, not the point of being in the office itself. Because if we consider that we have the gain of performance because of the coffee machine, for example, we also have the loss of the commuting. We wake up, we have the full energy, like we don't lose time with commuting, we don't lose time with high traffic, with noise, with so on. We are in our working space and everything's all right. So if the team manages, and if the company manages to reach this type of mindset and commitment, one thing that I did in order to reduce the impact, or we did actually in one of my past companies, was to have regular Friday events. We used to get guitar, play together. This was like created during the COVID. We play together, we drink together, get drunk, like just if we were in the office. Exactly what Gavin mentioned. It doesn't matter if we are in the office or not, but the advantages of not being in the office sometimes are greater if the people, the team members, are as committed as if they were physically in the office. This is my answer to this. I'm not against the office itself. What I tend to add to the teams to inspire them to be at the office when necessary, of course, the freedom if they want to be at their place, and if they produce, it's nothing that we can do. Is basically through company events.
Maybe I would like to add something after listening to Gavin's and Daniel's answer. Sorry, I mean, you're totally right, and I think I phrased my answer a little wrong. It's not that I would like to make the people come here or enforce them somehow, because I also think this hybrid or remote model, to the opportunity to have this, is really great. What I see nonetheless, or what I was thinking about, was more like how to motivate them intrinsically to come to the office, maybe even once in a while. So because still, even though for some teams it works, I mean, I'm doing this for a long time now. I mean, you guys as well. I felt this innovation go down. So you have this. I had this idea with Slack. Hey, let's set up a video call and then quickly talk. But it's nonetheless a bigger barrier as to just touch someone on the sleeve. Hey, could you quickly have a look here? this is what I'm missing, and makes sometimes problems also being solved quicker. And yeah, so there was one thing, because we have, for example, 2 guys here in Berlin or around Berlin who could come to the office, but they are not motivated to, as I said, which is perfectly fine so far. But I would think it would be nice sometimes to be all together, or as many as possible. And yeah, but this is hard to do. But I think this might be this is how it is.
Okay,
Yeah,
fantastic.
I think what Daniel
Sorry,
was
go ahead.
saying about like organizing specific things, making a good reason to come together, and it's very much touching what you're saying, Mark. Like, I think for like day-to-day work, it's great to be in your own space and have your own time and the flexibility, but there's so much value in coming together. So if you can organize something every month, every quarter, where it's like, okay, we're going to do a lot of planning, we're going to do some ideation exercises, we're going to do some team building, we're going to have a team lunch, and everyone just gets together. And then, you know, in the morning we'll do some planning, have a big lunch, and in the afternoon we're going to do like a codathon or some like a hackathon type thing. These are ways you can really inspire people to come together and make that time really super valuable and productive. So yeah, there's definitely things you can do to kind of inspire people to get together and like co-locate.
Okay, fantastic. I get the picture here that yeah, kind of increasing that that culture ad, I suppose, or the vibrancy of the office, so to speak. So almost leads me on to my kind of next point, potentially relating closer to kind of the relocation topic we were initially discussing. So I was speaking with an engineer just a few days ago, and he mentioned to me that potentially it's more valuable for companies and engineering managers to kind of look for somebody that's going to relocate. And the reasons he mentioned was that typically, this was his argument, that the people who are more likely to relocate potentially more committed to the company, potentially more communicative, potentially more outgoing, for example. These are all obviously personality types. And I was just wondering, is this maybe something you guys have experienced in your past, potentially hiring people or relocating yourselves? I was really excited to kind of get your guys' opinions on this, potentially starting off with Gavin.
I don't know if I'd agree with that engineer that's why. Like, 'cause in my experience, people who've relocated have primarily done it for better economic opportunities for themselves in work and for their families, for social and cultural reasons. Like, many years ago, I hired a web developer who wanted to relocate from a tiny town in the middle of nowhere. Like, there was no tech scene in that village. It was like just him. And so being able to get a job in a major town, like far away from where he was like the difference between having a career in tech and not having a career in tech for him. And him getting the job allowed him to bring his wife over and kids over and like basically start a new life in an industry he wanted to be in and make a better life for his family. And so I think, you know, the factors that drive people are not so much personality based as like practical, better life and opportunities for them and their family compared to where they are in the moment. And the reason I thought that person was massive introvert, very shy, very quiet. The interview was like really interesting just in terms of trying to draw him out, but like I realized that he was the best person for the job. So not a massively outgoing person, just really driven and motivated to get out of the town he was in and to be somewhere better.
Okay, I see. So quite contrary to what the engineer was mentioning. Yeah. And now, Daniel, I don't suppose you've had a similar experience to Gavin.
Gavin, on this one, what my experience so far is that usually people are relocating because of either money or career growth, for example. And when hiring, we tend to prefer someone who is able to relocate, aligned with what you said, Graeme, because we want people to continue in the company. So it gives a sense of reliability that this person is committed to dedicate himself, herself to staying longer time. I would say this would be my feeling for your question. What do you think, Marc?
To be honest on this, I don't have a preference. I'm really looking for the person or the engineer or whoever who's the best fit. It's more rather the other way around. I know this from smaller companies that they try to hire at least from the European Union because it's just less organizational effort. But hiring people from somewhere else in the world for more commitment, I didn't experience this by now, especially also the people that we are hiring are good because this is what usually a company is looking for. And if they don't want to stick to the company for whatever reason, then they also can change from here and get a new job pretty fast. So for me or from my experience, this was never the case or never a reason to hire someone or prefer someone else over that.
Okay, perfect. And Daniel, I can see you're raising your hand.
Actually, just a clarification. Not hiring, let's say, offshore because of commitment. I think the commitment is based on. I agree with you, Marc. It's based on the professional, not on the location. The idea of what I said is that when hiring someone who is far away, let's say, for example, if I were hiring a Brazilian, an Indian, or what would be the reasons? The main reasons would be, of course, saving budget, but a decision key point would be the reliability or the commitment to moving, for example.
I see. Now that kind of brings me on to.
By the way, when
sorry,
comparing, sorry, Graeme. When comparing with somebody in the same location, because let's say if we have the same professional, same kind of like a comparison, someone in Portugal, in Germany, and someone in Brazil, same technical levels, I would definitely go for a European because it's way less work. I agree with you, Marc. Sorry, guys.
And also maybe to add this, it's I mean usually but might be that this kind of question comes later. By now, all the people that we hired, like maybe from Iran, from India, from Eastern Europe, from wherever, the people can get used to living in Germany pretty fast and also the circumstances. But nonetheless, it's still when you hire someone from the European Union or even Germany, they are already in this environment and just are able to deal with it in a better way. But as I said, nonetheless, this is actually no reason, really. It's just which makes it sometimes a little easier for them as well.
Okay, I see. That kind of leads me on to what you could possibly consider the main topic of kind of relocation. You mentioned it potentially quite easy for people to kind of settle into the kind of country and the culture. Now, I was just curious. Obviously, having relocated from all over the world, etc., Gavin and Daniel, I was just curious. What part does potentially cultural differences play in a person's relocation, and would this, in fact, impact the way in which someone may perform at work, etc.? I'm really keen to kind of hear your guys' opinions.
I'm with you, Marc. And I'm a kind of like I experienced this itself when I moved to Europe. I had big problems, for example, with time. Cultural differences played. Answering your question, Graeme, played a very, very important role. Took me almost a year and a half to adapt to some points that here in Europe are just a basis.
Is it only on my system?
No, I think we're losing Daniel.
Yeah, I think we're losing you slightly, Daniel. Oh, I think
so
we're
I'm
coming
not.
back.
We
There we go.
can you okay?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Now it's
Yes.
getting better.
No. Yes.
Yeah. Can you go on? Maybe
Okay.
repeat the last 20 seconds or something like that.
Yes.
Excellent.
So what I was sharing was my own experience with based on the cultural differences. Where, for example, one of the key topics that got me when I moved to Europe was the punctuality. In Brazil, it's normal that we schedule a meeting, let's say 1 p.m. We prepare ourselves to start this meeting 15, 30 minutes later after the 1 p.m. And we hear it's completely normal. The elevator broke, the train, the bus, the this and that. This is part of our culture. I'm not saying that everybody was exactly like a kind of like a not caring at all about punctuality, but took me a year and something to adapt and understand that's like a, hey, there are people waiting for me for this meeting. I cannot just arrive there when the train break, not a problem. I need to set up myself in a way that I need to get there earlier. And one very important thing that happened when I was adapting, when I moved to Germany, one company gave me and my new colleagues a training of Germany cultural differences. And I remember one of the key points were when you arrive in a meeting, if you arrive on time, you are already late. Here in Germany, we expect people to arrive 5 minutes before the call, before the meeting. And this was like a huge brainstorm, and like I put some effort there and so on, until the day that I was waiting for a bus. It was snowing, Munich, and there is this paper with the appointed times with which the bus should arrive, and I look like as a Brazilian, I look and say like, come on, this bus will take forever to arrive. It's snowing, and actually the bus arrived in time. And when this happened, I look and say like, man, if the guys can predict the bus of the entire year with a paper, considering the different weather, traffic, and so on, there is no excuse for me to don't be on time. So this was basically one of my key experience when of course I have like some few others from other people from like a when onboarding people, and this is what I wanted to share today with you guys and with the community, the relevance of the cultural differences when hiring someone. Because as I said, like for me in Brazil, this type of behavior was completely normal. And what we expect here in Europe, and especially in Germany, is the, let's say, new normal. So whoever is coming needs to be open-minded to the new normal.
I think especially this being on time is a thing that comes, or that got more important with these the distributed teams, because to be honest, also a short story. I was very German in terms of this time thing, so I was always a little kind of annoyed. So when people are late, somehow even after 2 minutes, by now or in the meantime, I got rid of this a little and think, come on, okay, then it's 5 minutes late, whatever. And but I learned this also kind of the hard way with a Greek friend when we wanted to meet, even in our free time, somewhere like, don't know, going to the cinema, going to an exhibition, whatever. He was always late, and I tried to tell him, hey, this is this is shitty, and but he tried his best. Also, we managed at some point that he came on time, but at some point it went back to this, and so I started learning for myself, also going to this. Like just being late 5 minutes sometimes. Okay, then it is. I think here a compromise is okay, but I think half an hour might be a little problematic, especially when people have their meetings back to back. This can get problematic. Yeah. But I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But what I never had was this being 5 minutes early in a meeting. I mean, I'm doing this sometimes for myself when I prepare, when it's something important, but yeah, this is kind of extreme even for me.
I can talk a bit about the British culture. I come from South Africa. There are some similarities, so it wasn't too much of a transition, but there were definitely a transition for me to UK. Like, I'm very direct, and like the culture I come from is very much about directness and just being asking what you want, saying what you think. And British culture is not so much like that. And yeah, I'm sure we can all swap stories, and every country has their own culture, little differences. And actually there's a lot of resources online about like different companies' cultural differences. Like, I remember reading about like when Americans visit China, what a radical like difference it is. Americans like talk a lot and they're very direct and they're blunt and they walk over and shake your hand, and they don't believe in hierarchies. And in China it's like totally the opposite and very different. And so very much about understanding these cultural differences. And I think what like Daniel pointed out is so valuable. If you're relocating yourself or if you hire someone, give them some coaching, give them some resources, even if you can't send them on a course like, how to integrate into Germany or integrate into the UK or wherever you move to. They need at least a manager who can coach and mentor them and like give them feedback. So like, and I bet like Daniel, if someone from Germany moved to Brazil, you'd have to teach them, if you get to the meeting at 10 o'clock sharp, you're just going to be sad and alone for 20 minutes. You need to learn to deal with that. Bring a book you can read while you wait. You get to coach and teach people. People need to adapt to the culture they're in.
Okay, brilliant. Kind of being open-minded, etc., being flexible, having that plasticity to the culture you're joining. And Daniel made an interesting point. Again, kind of backed by Gavin, having those kind of materials or kind of coaching, etc., provided potentially by the company. Now, outside of potentially maybe having like a buddy or something alongside you, I was wondering what kind of steps or kind of practices do you think companies could kind of put into practice to increase the speed of which these kind of transitions occur?
Based on my personal experience, because it was very difficult for me to adapt in the beginning. The stubborn kid, giving time to the person, because I was trying, and then there was like this first company that I worked at. I was fired, let's say, after 2 or 3 weeks. What I do.
Oh, we're missing out the good bits of the story.
Missing the highlights, unfortunately. Hopefully we kind of come back. No worries. You still with us, Daniel? Can you still hear us, or have we lost you?
Can you?
No, not really.
No.
Really? Okay. Well, potentially,
I guess
hopefully.
I could add something
Yeah,
to
please
that.
do. I was
like,
just going to say, please do.
I will check up.
Daniel started talking about like people not understanding and losing work, and I felt some of that myself and seeing other people. And people don't just need a buddy; they also need an advocate. So I wanted to explain to the people around them that, hey, this person is new; they're going to be different. This is what they might bring. Like, and you can organize like in a team, you could organize meetings where people talk about their culture and where they come from, and you can center around those values. Like timeliness is a big one. Directness in communication, how likely people are to like point out problems. In some cultures, like people will always step up and go, oh, this thing's broken, that thing's wrong. And in some cultures, you just don't do that. That's totally not okay. And it's so, I think, important if you're integrating people from different cultures into your team, into your organization, that you really make that stuff visible and open and like advocate for people, especially when they're new, especially when they need time to adapt, or if you just expect that everyone's going to work together and everything will be fine, then you're going to be disappointed and people are going to be upset.
I think also communication is here key, because I'm not sure if it is really possible to give like a handbook or something for a culture to get used to this, because I had so many talks with relocated people, and something happened to them. I mean, not happened something bad, but they experienced something on their day-by-day life and asked me, so, hey, Marc, is this normal? And then this might be sometimes super, where you think this is a super normal thing. For example, on being hiking, and in Germany there is this, I don't know where it comes from, so saying hello when you meet someone, even though it's a complete stranger. So, and then they asked me, so hey, they were greeting me all the time, and I said, yeah, this people are doing this here, and it's also about, don't know, being in the supermarket, eating, and all these things. Also, sometimes, I mean, this also depends a little on the company, but the example of hugging, hugging someone. In a lot of companies here, it's kind of normal, at least up from a particular point. Of course, men, women, this is always so, needs to be careful, but at some point, often it happens that people just hug each other. So, and I met a girl from India, and this happened in the company, and she was super surprised and couldn't really relate to this. And that's also necessary that the people from the country where people relocate to, that they are also open to these wishes, and sometimes for religious reasons, these things that how they are done there. So here also, I think compromising, communicating, definitely.
Okay, just communicating those differences. And just returning to Daniel before we unfortunately kind of lost you due to the connection.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, unfortunately.
Come on. Let's try again. Hopefully this time my network won't prevent us from keep going. Communication, as Marc said, and one other thing that when I went to the other side of the table, is giving time to people to adapt, and the adaptation buddy would also benefit a lot. One other thing that I usually do when I'm hiring someone from a different country is working a month or a little bit more remotely, so we can start like a training all along, and then we bring the person. I personally, for example, I go pick it up in the airport. I remember when I arrived, for example, in Germany, I was completely lost. Like the train, the subway system back in São Paulo is a kind of like a for children. It's super easy. You have one train, one stop, and that's it. I arrived in Berlin Central Station. It's like, what? Like, what is this place? What I need to go? So I go pick it up the person in the airport and so on. So there is a transition period. But at the same time, there is this moment when, and it's informed before the new team member, there's like now you need to fly by yourself, like don't create a dependency. And since day one, the most relevant points for the team values. Let's say, for example, we are working with the majority of the team members are Germans, for example, and we care very much as a team about the punctuality. So punctuality will be one of our key values, and others like the team decide what they want, for example, and then we share this with the new team members.
Okay, fantastic. So I think above all, the running theme between all the points all three of you made was having that kind of strong collaborative environment where you can kind of rely on each other, I suppose. I know from my own personal experience, I think I mentioned prior to the call, for those that don't know, my dad's in the army. So when I was a child, I kind of moved across Germany, across Northern Ireland, all across England, really. So having that kind of support network of potentially the kind of welfare, etc. Yes, super kind of helpful. I suppose that kind of echoes what Daniel mentioned, having that potential body to kind of show you around the metro system, for example, and just coming up to terms with the idioms of the new society. Now, overall, I think we've kind of covered some really key points. That was kind of the final point that I wanted to make, basically regarding how you can maybe introduce somebody into that new team, potentially relying on the cultural differences. Now, I don't suppose before we kind of wrap things up, do you guys have anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, maybe one thing about Germany that I can maybe not warn but say is that that I had a lot of people in the past, and they came here, and unfortunately, the people in Germany, they are more like it's hard to get in touch sometimes with people here. So this makes it sometimes problematic, like when you have like some German people. It's not always, but and with the newer generations, it happens even way less. But often there are these friendships and so circles of friends, and they are for themselves, and it takes quite some time to get into this, getting new contacts. But the thing is, so at a point when you are in these circles, then they will almost always stay forever. So this is especially in Germany, it definitely takes some time, but here also, when someone tells you something, he means it, he doesn't mean it like this. So it's not that people are very polite, and out of politeness, they don't say you anything or don't tell you anything. It's really direct and honest. And this is maybe something that I can say from Germany. So yeah, that's as a last contribution, so to say.
Definitely.
That's definitely
I think
the
that's
opposite of
Daniel,
England.
sorry. Yeah, I was going to say that's something Gavin touched on previous. Sometimes we can be slightly indirect in our communication. Is that something you've noticed, Gavin, or experienced?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely something I've had to adapt to, is just that indirectness and having to kind of read between the lines and stuff. I guess if I was to say one last thing, I don't want people to come away thinking, ooh, this is really hard, we shouldn't help people relocate. Like, there's so much value in hiring people from across the world. Like, being a company that's open to that, there's so much value in terms of diversity, like bringing diversity of thought, bringing different ideas. You know, like Daniel spoke about always being late, but that kind of energy brings like an easygoingness. You know, when there's chaos, when problems happen, people with that kind of culture tend to go, meh, it'll be fine. We'll make do, and there can be so much value. Whereas people who are very rigid might struggle when things change, and so it's so much value in having these different ideas. And then, just in a very fundamental financial one, if you open yourself to the world, you get to bring in amazing talent on a low budget, which can make a real difference to your startup, to your company. There's so much value in opening your talent pool. If you limit yourself to like the major city you live in, like if you only hire in Berlin, or you only hire in London or Dublin, you are competing with all those massive corporations that are based there that probably pay more money than you can afford. Whereas if you're willing to like be vulnerable and be open to the world, you can get amazing people that no one's ever heard of that can really like elevate your company.
Yeah, I cannot more agree on this. Also, what you mentioned, this is completely true. I'm so grateful for that. In the past, I met so many people from all over the world that enabled me to step out of my bubble, because this can happen, of course, right? When you have all these people around you and then you work with them, those are your friends. I mean, I love my friends. This is not the point, but getting this openness of your mind and be able to deal with people from a completely different culture, this is absolutely great, and I love it.
Brilliant. I think it's very key. One of the fundamental things that we always kind of harp on about. It's not always about a culture fit, but always that kind of culture add. And I think kind of finding people from potentially different cultures all over the globe definitely ensures a culture add. that's pretty much it from me, guys. Obviously, been a great pleasure kind of discussing this with you. Seems to end on a very positive note. So in terms of kind of next steps, what I'll do, I'll liaise with our marketing team. I'll discuss kind of next steps, get things posted on YouTube, on kind of LinkedIn, and we'll kind of take it from there. Obviously, thank you very much for kind of watching, guys. I really hope you enjoy. And yeah, any final kind of comments, etc. I'd love to hear from you guys. But that wraps it up from me.
Thank you, everyone. Just a quick comment. I feel the same way you guys mentioned. It was tough for me, the adaptation in the beginning, but the growth in my career and the growth in terms of my own personality, being in Europe, being especially in Germany, contributed a lot to my own growth. Whatever I heard about before coming, whatever I heard about Germany was completely wrong. I see Germans as one of the most lovely people I had the opportunity to work with. As Marc mentioned, they need their time. But once they they consider you as a friend, for example, this is for life, unless you fuck up everything and so on. But but it's an amazing experience. Portugal the same. So it's like my recommendation is that if you plan to move to other countries for just fasten your seatbelt and enjoy it, because the growth is impressive. Just be open-minded to do some adaptation because it's necessary.
Brilliant. That's a fantastic way to sign us off. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. It's been a very great time speaking with you. And yeah, I suppose until next time.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.